Chinese President Xi Jinping has begun a two-day state visit to Zimbabwe, the first such visit by a Chinese head of state in close to 20 years. President Xi is en route to China-Africa Summit here in South Africa, which will open later in the week. The global leader was welcomed by President Robert Mugabe to jubilant celebrations from Zanu PF party supporters and full honors. The two leaders are expected to sign agreements in transport, agriculture and infrastructure as China seeks to exploit Zimbabwe's natural resources. With investments of $601 billion in 2014, China remains Zimbabwe's largest single investor, propping up the ailing economy. China has loaned Zimbabwe billions of dollars to refurbish power and water utilities. Almost 200 Chinese businessmen are accompanying President Xi. Trade relations between the two countries are skewed in favor of Zimbabwe by almost $500 million, according to Zimbabwe's investment authority. Zimbabwe exports raw minerals and tobacco to China. Well, for more on the Chinese leader's visit, we are now joined on the line by correspondent Shingai Nyyoka, who is joining us live from Harare. Shingai, just take us through the significance of this visit to Zimbabwe by President Xi.
Well, good afternoon to you. As you mentioned, China is one of Zimbabwe's largest trading partners, and over the last 10 years or so, when Zimbabwe has been under economic sanctions, it's adopted what it calls a look east policy. Essentially, it's been courting Chinese and Russian investors. And really, China is the largest investor in the country, but it's still not enough investment. Zimbabwe needs about $3 to $6 billion to be able to revive the economy. But at the moment, even China's $600 million is really a drop in the ocean in terms of what Zimbabwe needs. And so President Robert Mugabe, during his visit to China, did court President Xi Jinping to come through to the country. And clearly what they're hoping is that some of these 200 business people that are accompanying him will be able to invest in this country and really turn around what is a contracting economy.
Well, many deals have been signed between China and Zimbabwe. Well, do we see any of these deals bearing fruit for Zimbabweans? What do we have to see around to say that as they are coming into implementation, they are bearing fruition?
Well, very few really major deals, or there's been very little reflection of the impact of some of the major deals that we understand that the two counterparts have signed. Most of them have largely they haven't really been revealed as to what exactly was signed. What we've seen over the last year, though, is China loaning money to Zimbabwe for infrastructural development, mainly in the area of power as well as water, the rebuilding of the waterworks. But really there is a lot of resentment still towards Chinese investment, because there's a perception here that that investment is largely exploitative. China has come into the gold mining sector, into the diamond mining sector, and really a lot of people have said that there's nothing to show on the ground for the natural resources that are being taken out of the country, and most of these resources are exported in their raw form. And so Zimbabwe really does not get a lot of value from the investment, not just from China, but generally. And so there really is an emphasis coming out from business that there needs to be value addition, and that's also the message coming from government. And so there's a hope that some of these new deals will really be skewed to favor Zimbabwe and really have a larger impact than they currently have.
Right, Shingai, just in a nutshell, since we've seen since the sanctions against Zimbabwe, things didn't go well since we experienced the land grabs in Zimbabwe and there was drought, and Zimbabwe was really isolated from the international world trade, and there hasn't been anything except that through mining of diamonds and coal, and many people have been saying that the look to the East policy has not really worked out well for President Robert Mugabe. Can we for sure say that it has failed in that regard?
Well, I don't think it has failed. The fact that China has poured in $600 million is nothing to scoff at. But as economists will tell you, it's $600 million, where Zimbabwe needs about 10 times that to be able to make a difference. And so there's a lot of frustration still about the fact that there is so little investment, especially given the fact that countries like China are investing so much more in neighboring countries of Zambia and Mozambique. So there really is a perception that Zimbabwe could do more in terms of attracting investment, and that this economic issue is largely caused by political policies, and investors would like to see, and this includes Chinese businesses, they'd like to see an easing of some of these policies, including indigenization, or at least some kind of clarity, so that they know that if they do invest their money today, that in the next 5-10 years they'll still be able to get their money out.
Well, we are live to Harare in Zimbabwe to Shingai Nyyoka, who is talking to us on the visit of President Xi Jinping, and he was welcomed there by President Robert Mugabe. And you are watching News Today right here on Channel 4 for SABC News.